There's another question. Can China really afford a full-fledged war with Taiwan, or for that matter with any other country? Can China afford to take any country in the high seas? On paper, yes. In practice, perhaps not. And I'll explain why I say this. China has the world's largest navy. It has 355 battle-ready ships. Listen to these numbers carefully. 355 battle-ready ships, including 2 aircraft carriers. China has 145 major surface combatants, 33 destroyers and cruisers, 49 frigates, 255 coastal support ships, 56 submarines, 240,000 personnel. These are some very fancy numbers. If you compare China's total naval assets with the rest of the world, here's what the chart looks like. China has a clear lead over Russia, or North Korea, of course. The United States too. Colombia, Iran, Egypt, Thailand, India, Indonesia. China is ahead of all of these countries. China's numbers look intimidating. And the scenario becomes scarier when you consider the fact that by 2030, China will have 425 battleships in force. Here's something else we need to take into account. China already has a hypersonic missile that can strike anywhere on Earth within minutes, or so it claims. China is also building its nuclear capacities. You might remember these satellite images. Well, here's another one, another satellite image. As we speak, Beijing is playing war games at home. Look at this picture. It was captured by a satellite. What you see is a dummy US warship. It has been built in a desert in Xinjiang. Why? So that Chinese troops can rehearse a combat. China looks all war ready. It has been building its navy for quite some time and preparing for a war in the South China Sea. China built reefs and islands here between 2014 and 2018. They launched more submarines, warships, vessels and auxiliaries than the total number of ships in the Indian Navy, or the German Navy, or the Spanish Navy, or the British Navy. By 2018, China held 40% of the world's shipbuilding market. In 2019, China built more ships than America did during the last 4 years of the Second World War. China did not stop building its naval infrastructure even when the pandemic struck, the Made in China pandemic. It chose to test the waters then, sent its Coast Guard ships in disputed waters, provoked the Philippines with its maritime militia. And all of this coincided with the rising tension with Taiwan. China has been breaching Taiwanese airspace. But can it afford a war on the high seas? I come back to the question. First things first, China will not be fighting Taiwan alone. Its main opponent will then be the United States. And China knows this, which is why it is building dummy American ships to practice with. China will also be fighting American allies in the South China Sea, countries like Japan and Australia. Chances are European countries may also throw their weight behind Taiwan. Now, I could draw up a chart like this one and weigh Chinese capacity against that of the US, Japan and Australia combined and deliver a verdict on the war. But it does not work that way. Forces today can no longer be measured by the size of their fleet alone. For a side to win, it must be able to deploy its combat force at the site of the conflict when needed. One of the numbers that matters is this: aircraft carriers. The US has 11 aircraft carriers, all nuclear powered. China has 2. And their designs are dated, their range is limited. And they have a payload carrying capacity that China cannot really boast of. Here's another disadvantage. China reportedly has a 2-person ship command structure. This is the Soviet Communist model. So there is a captain of the ship and there is a member of the Chinese Communist Party. Who takes the final command during an emergency situation? The Chinese structure is perfect for delaying a decision. Now, if Chinese vessels are to fight beyond the South China Sea, it could have problems there too. Most Chinese vessels do not have exposure to the waters beyond the Western Pacific. They also do not have experience or proven capability, much like the Chinese army are its troops. Way too many. But we often spot them crying. Take a look. You see, after the third Taiwan Strait incident in 1995, China adopted the policy of what can be called as 3D: dissuade, deter and demonstrate. They're trying to deter the world by demonstrating the number. Can these numbers be taken at face value? Well, they shouldn't be. Does this mean the world can ignore China's naval buildup? Of course not. The world knows better. As we speak, ships from the US, the UK, France and Germany are sailing in the South China Sea. The US and the UK are assisting Australia in developing a nuclear-powered submarine to counter Chinese threats in the Indo-Pacific. The world's leading democracies, including India, have come together to form the Quad. Naval drills in the Indo-Pacific have gone up as China sails towards its 2049 goal to build up its navy, to strike Taiwan, to fulfill President Xi Jinping's dream of a world-class military. The world, too, is preparing to enforce the rule of law across the 7 oceans. Xi Jinping knows this. His vessels are better off anchored in safe waters. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.